Okay, so hi there. My name is Mr. Garcia, and today I'm going to be talking to you about adding fractions. So we have here some pieces of a pie. So here we have 1/4 and another 1/4. And actually we have a whole pie, but as you can see, it's divided into 4 pieces. So each of these pieces is 1/4, right? Because we have 4 of them. So all together they make up 1 pie, but each pie is a 1/4. So if we add all of them together, we have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1 more 1/4. So we have 4/4. A 1/4 can also be called a quarter. So we have 4/4, which makes up 1 whole pie. So if we're adding them, I mean, it's basically just like adding anything, right? Because say we have 2/4 and we have 1/4, we stick them together, add them together, we have, well, it's 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So we have 3/4. Let's say that we have thirds. 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3. Let's try with eighths. So here's, say we got 3/8, so that's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. Now let's add 1/8. Then we have 4/8, right? Now say we come along and we say, well, I'm tired of adding 4ths to 4ths and 8ths to 8ths. So what if I have 1/8 and I want to add it to 1/4? Okay, so how would you do that? Well, we have 1/4 and 1/8, but I want to write that as just one number. So what I got to do is I got to think about this and say, what's another way that I can write these as the same thing? Because we can't add 2 different things. You know, it's like if we're adding apples or oranges, we could only add, you know, if I have 2 apples and I add 2 apples, I have 4 oranges. If I have, or sorry, I would have 4 apples. If I have 2 apples and I add 2 apples, I'd have 4 apples. If I have 2 oranges, I add 2 oranges, I'd have 4 oranges. But if I try to add 2 apples and 2 oranges, then I have 2 apples and 2 oranges, right? Well, what's something we could call it? We could say I have 4 pieces of fruit. So I could find something that I could call them the same thing. So what's a way I can call this and this? I gotta think of something that I can call them both something similar. So what's another way of saying 1/4? Well, I could say 1/4, that's the same as 2/8, right? See? That's 1/4, but it's also 2/8. So now I'm going to try to add these together. So 1/4 plus 1/8. First I got to make them both the same kind of unit. So I made this into 2/8, and now I can add 1/8. And bam, we have 3/8. Now what if I wanted to add 1/3 and 1/4? Excuse me. How would I add these together? Well, gotta figure out what's some way that I can make these the same kind of unit. So what I gotta do is I gotta figure out, well, what's a common denominator? So the denominator is the number on the bottom, so 4. So that's the denominator here. And here, the denominator is 3. So I got to find some common denominator to make these the same unit. So watch this. What happens if I take a 12th and I turn, let's start at the quarter. So how many 12ths in a quarter? There's 1, and there's 2, there's 3. So 3 12ths is a quarter, as you can see. Oop, exactly the same. Okay, thirds, we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1/3 is the same as 4/12. Now I can look and say, ooh, can I add these together? Are they the same units? Yeah, these are 12ths and these are 12ths. So we can add them together. So 1/4 plus 1/3 equals 3 plus 4/12. Okay, so let me just show you what I just did on paper. Okay, so I wrote it down. So 1/3 plus 1/4 is what we're trying to do. So what I got to do is I got to think about, what is the least common denominator between 3 and 4? So I got to think of a number that I can divide both 3 and 4 into. So maybe 12. Just think about this. Can you divide 12 by 3? Yes. It would be 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, can you divide 12 by 4? 12 divided by 4? Yeah, it would be 3, right? 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, so the next step, so I'm turning both of these into 12ths. So how many 12ths is a third? So if you remember when we had a third, how many 12ths was it? It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well remember 4, well that's just 12 divided by 3. So what do? We took 12 and we divided it by 3 and we got 4, right? So 1/3 is 4/12. Let me just write that in there. You see that? So now we got to figure out how many 12ths is 1/4. So 1/3 is 4/12. 1/4 is how many 12ths? We're going to do the same thing. 12 divided by 4 is what? 3. So 1/4 is 3/12. And there we have it. 1/3 plus 1/4 is 4/12 plus 3/12, which is 7/12. So now what if I'm adding 2/3 plus 1/4? Okay, well I'm going to do the same thing. Find the least common denominator, which is 12. I'm going to say 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, but I'm not going to write 4 here because I have 2/3. So if 1/3 is the same as 4/12, then 2/3 would be 2 times that much. It would be 4 times 2 is 8/12, right? Because think about the pies. So here's 1/3. 1/3 is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4/12. So if I had 2/3, I would just multiply that by 2, right? And I would have, right, 8/12. I could just keep putting in until I have 8 of these. One more. Right, so all I'm doing is I'm taking 1/3, I'm multiplying by 2 to get, instead of 4/12, it's now 8/12. And now I just add that to 1/4, which we already found was 3/12. And that gives us 11/12. All right, cool. See you in the next video.